Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we're talking about Star Trek Into the Unknown and some expansion faction class ships that I think are most likely to see. And we're focusing on two different alien races today. We're talking about the Klingons and the Romulans. Two of my absolute favorites. Definitely my two favorites. Klingons more for their amazing episode arcs and their incredible sense of honor and crazy chaos and just awesomeness, and Romulans for their incredible ships. Romulans have the worst outfits, by the way. Like the whole their arms have to be straight down. Like, what are you kidding me with those things? Who designed those Romulan outfits? Like, I would find the tailor and introduce them to Garrick and say, look, we can do better. We can do better. But as far as their ships go, they're very, very cool. So this list is going to be 10 ships that I think we'll see. And the reason I'm doing two different factions is because of the timeline of this game and the relative canon-centric. Obviously, there's some degree of canon they have to adhere to. They want recognizability. I don't necessarily think they're going to dig too deep. So I'm trying to restrict stuff to things that I think would be recognizable, and things that also fit the time frame. So it means I'm not digging really deep into like Star Trek Online and stuff like that. And nothing against Star Trek Online. I play Star Trek Online off and on. I've had it since Alpha, or Beta or whatever, very early. Bought a lifetime sub before the game even went live. So like I've played Star Trek Online off and on for years. But I don't think it has the brand recognizability that they really need to launch, Klingon and Romulan expansions with. So we're going to talk about some of those in today's video, and it's going to be speculative, informed largely by, things that we've heard and the timeline of this, which is that it's sort of a TNG/DS9 kind of 1990s era Star Trek, for at least for the launch wave. So the things that I think we're likely to see first doesn't mean that stuff that I don't include on here can't happen. There's a lot of stuff that can happen, and we're going to start with the first one. Also, by the way, if you like miniatures games, starships, and geeky games in general, this is a great place. Hopefully you'll stick around with us into 2025 and beyond, and I'd love to have your subscription. Click that. Subscriptions are currently free. So if you click that subscribe button, zero charge for you, as long as you do it now. The window extends until for the next 5 minutes. They're going to be totally free. So if you're watching this video, you can do that for 100% free. Lifetime subscription to this channel, 100% free, zero charge. Go for it. It helps out the channel a lot too. Let's start off with Klingons, and we're talking about bird of prey, but not any bird of prey. Of course, bird of prey, I think, has to come, when they do Klingons. We know Klingons are coming. There's going to be some cloaking, and that has been, initially cloaking was supposed to be in the core set with the Defiant, and they kind of got pushed back a little bit. There's a lot to learn in the core set. Let's leave cloaking until the Klingons come out. So I believe this is going to be one of the very first things that we get as Klingons with cloaking. And what better ship to cloak than the classic bird of prey? But this is the Burrell class of bird of prey that I'm talking about specifically, because there are multiple types of birds of prey. There are multiple discrepancies when you're trying to figure out exactly how big a bird of prey is, because in some cases they're very, very, very small. We can see, what was it in Star Trek 5? And they're standing on the thing, and you're like, oh man, this is just about the size of a normal house, versus then they show them behind a Romulan warbird, and it looks even bigger than the warbird in other episodes. So there's different types. However, the Burrell class is generally considered to be the smaller. Now, granted, I don't have all of the technical specs for all of these ships, so some of this is going to be summary, and I may make some technical mistakes on exact measurements and stuff, so there's going to be a little bit of that. But the Burrell is generally about 100 meters long, smaller ship. And we'll move to the next one, which is the Cavort bird of prey. So our first two on this list are both birds of prey. Is that a cop-out? Maybe. It's okay. I'm actually going to give you more than 10, so don't worry. There's going to be a bonus at the end. All right, so the Cavort bird of prey is generally your larger bird of prey. This is the one that's a little bit more of like a warship, a little beefier, right? They're generally about 300 meters in length, so it would fit the bill for a medium ship for the Klingons, which I think we would do that fairly nicely, and of course would probably also have cloaking. I do wonder if either one of these will be able to have the movable wings like the old Micro Machines had. I don't know if they'll be able to do that too easily. It would be cool because like Birds of Prey, depending on the ship, and I don't know if it's just a class thing or if they just decided, you know what, this guy's Bird of Prey is going to be the nunchuck, and this is going to have wings that go straight out, and these one's going to have wings that go like down more, and these are going to have wings that kind of go up, like Predator style. Like there's so many really cool variations on how the wings kind of fit these ships that I'm gonna be interested to see what they do if they make it to where like, hey, you can just get maybe one has wings that are up, maybe one has wings that are down, maybe one has wings that are flat. Like there's a lot they can do there, or just give me movable wings. I mean, I'd be fine with that too. Or maybe not even if they can't make them to where there is like a hinge. Maybe like you just different wing like attachments. Like I want this guy to have the wings up, so let me put the attachment in there. Kind of like if the Enterprise D in Star Trek Into the Unknown had different saucer sections, that you could just attach, for whatever reason, future Enterprise or whatever. I don't know. It'd be cool stuff. So the Cavort is our number 2 on this list. Number 3 is the Vorcha, the first big Klingon ship that we saw in Next Generation. Not ever the first big Klingon ship we've seen, but that first battle cruiser, that first heavier capital ship. This you're gonna see Vorchas. You're gonna see them. I think it's a guarantee. These guys were very important all throughout Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. I think I definitely foresee this coming with like Gowron for sure. Maybe even Kim Peck. I could see Kim Peck doing. I don't know if they're going to go back that far. I think that's a little bit before the timeline. I think Kim Peck was already dead by the time of the game starting. Although hopefully they won't lean too much into that, because I really think they need to bend the rules a little bit of the exact timeline of the game. Because again, this game is not only about battle. And while there are Klingon like scientists and stuff like that, a lot of them we see before DS9 even starts. Kalar, for example, definitely needs to be in this game. I mean, what better Klingon diplomat than Kalar? I mean, come on. I can't think of many. I cannot think of many. So, it definitely works. And I mean, of course, she could have sway with Federation and stuff like that. But yeah, I really like the idea of Kalar being in this game, and of course the Vorchas will show up. I think that's a given. Also, the Negvar. Now, this is an interesting one because this is a very, very large ship. Now, the Vorcha is just under 500 meters at about, I think, 475 is the given size for a Vorcha. So that would probably still cut it into being a large ship, although depending on where they want to draw the line, it could fit the bill as a medium, although I think the Cavort Bird of Prey works fine as a medium. But the Negvar is even larger at about 700 meters, so that puts it at just a little bigger than the Galaxy class. So it will work very, very well on the large base. And the Negvar first was seen in the Star Trek The Next Generation finale, attacking the future Enterprise, but then made its way to be a little bit more widely used in the Klingon fleets in the aftermath. I think these actually were also in some shots in later years of DS9, so it's a very cool ship. This ought to be a really awesome ship, kind of like the Dominion battle cruiser in that regards. Maybe even with like an extra cost modifier. It'll be interesting to see how they do the Negvars. Now, for my 5th Klingon ship, it's kind of a multi here. We're going a little variety because it's kind of 2 different versions. But I'm going to say the Katinga. Obviously, this is a classic, iconic ship, and you're probably looking at this and saying, that's not the Katinga, that's the D7. Well, they're kind of the same thing. I mean, if you look at it you might think it's the same thing, but I think there's a distinct little difference in that, like, modern versions and into the TNG era and beyond are classified as the Katingas, where the D7s is kind of like the old version. So it's like a if it, like a 93 Mustang versus a 2024 Mustang or something like that, right? So the Katinga would, again, if in this timeline, I think they would do the Katinga, but again, they have said that they would consider doing legacy stuff. I know that some of the designers definitely want to go back and revisit classic Trek. And you could probably use the same model or a very similar model. You might have to change the paint jobs. I'm not super keen on all of the exact differences. I think the biggest difference is probably in the nacelles and some of the patterning on the nacelles and then the colors of the lights and things like that. So I don't know if it's something that they could just do a different paint job and say it's a D7. But I think the size is a little different. From what I've been able to find, like a D7 is around 200 meters, where a Katinga is about 350. So could be the difference of having a small version for a D7 and a larger, or a medium rather, for the Katinga. I think that could possibly work. And that's also a good segue into the Romulans, because it's another reason why I think a Katinga is probably a little more, or at least the style of model, or at least the D7, definitely works because it's a ship that could be dual faction. In the original series, the Romulans also used D7s, so could work as this. I don't know if they'd want to paint them differently. I don't know if they'd just want to release like a ship pack that has hey, it's got one ship, but it's got a Romulan card and a Klingon card in there, and you can run them, with their own officers and stuff like that. Like that really works in an original series pack if they're doing that. So that's kind of a little bonus. Let's move on to our Romulans, because we've got 5 Romulan options here. Obviously, we got to start with the Deradex, the D-Deradex class. This thing is monstrous. Romulans have a very interesting set of circumstances in this game, in that their ships are freaking huge, and the Deradex is kind of the emphasis, the capital H on huge in this example. Frankly, I think it's worth asking the question, will they consider doing a size that's bigger than large? You've got small, medium, and large, but nothing says you can't do, extra large, 1XL, 2XL, things like that. I mean, I don't see and I don't see any good reason for them to kind of box themselves in a cage where they can't do it, or extra large wide. Or a large wide or something like that, because a lot of Romulan ships aren't necessarily about the length, they're also about the width. I mean, this ship is kind of long and wide. The D-Deradex is over 1,300 meters long. It's much larger. In some shots, it's like twice the size of the Enterprise. Now, not necessarily the mass, because again, there's a lot of empty space in the center of the ship, so the mass isn't necessarily all there, but as far as the table area and the amount of space it's going to use, it's going to be incredibly massive, and it may feel a little awkward if it's placed on a large base. So I'm curious about that. I don't see any design reasons, I don't see any gameplay reasons why they couldn't just do one ship that's just a little bit larger for the base. I don't think it has to be, but one of the cool things is if they did a larger base, they could put peg holes possibly on the sides. You could do maybe 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2. So you have maybe a plus sign of peg holes. So you have different options on how you want to do, some larger ships and things like that. Might also be nice to have different bases if you ever wanted to do a Borg cube or a Borg sphere or other really large ships. I think the concept of larger than large bases is a possibility, and the Romulans would be a great entry point into kind of branching out and thinking outside the established box for how ships are done. And frankly, it's, I think, the most beautiful ship in all of Star Trek. So I really want to see this ship, and I think, of course, it's going to have to come. Of course it is. But one of the issues that I had when putting this list together is that we're well, if you watch Next Generation, I'm currently doing a Next Generation rewatch right now. I'm on season 4, so starting over again. Primarily, this is the only ship you see for Romulans. Not, I say primarily because there are other ships, and we'll talk about them. But this is by far the mainstay of the Romulan fleet. They didn't have the ship diversity represented on screen that you see of the Federation. Obviously, there's tons and hundreds of Romulan ships. If you play Star Trek Online, or you dive deep into the lore and all the refits and different variations of these and the other things. But on screen, if you're looking for what's recognizable, this is the most recognizable Romulan ship in 90s Trek. So, I think it's definitely coming. As far as other things that are maybe a little less recognizable, but also fit the timeline and the 90s Trek era for Romulans, the Romulan science vessel. This one also has the added benefit of really fitting the flavor of the game, since science and diplomacy and navigation, all these other key aspects of the game are definitely important. The Romulans are going to need, support ships. They're going to need specialty ships, and the science vessel, it fits that bill perfectly. Now, this thing, everything I can find on it, it says it's classified. It doesn't have like a class. It's just called Romulan Science Ship. Everywhere I've looked, that's got to be the worst name ever. So I'm really curious what kind of, if and when we do eventually see this, I want to hear. It's like one of those questions I want to ask the devs. I want to ask, like, what was it like trying to get like technical specs for a Romulan science ship? Like, is it just like, are you going to see a ship dashboard that just says Romulan science ship, or did they get a class? What kind of, what process was that like to try to find specs on things that don't have? And I guess I hadn't really played Star Trek Attack Wing, and I wonder if some of that work had been done already for that. But it's interesting. Now this one, the size has been reported a couple of different times. I've seen it reported that as small as 105 meters long and as large as 300 meters long. So this one could be a small ship. It could also be a medium ship. And I kind of like it if it ends up working as a medium ship, just because of the fact that the Romulan ships tend to be so large, and we do have a scout ship that's coming up, which is going to be small, but this could really fit the bill as a medium, potentially. Depends on, again, what Paramount says, and what licensing kind of says. No, this ship should be X. So curious about that. And I did say scout ship. That's going to be next. It's number 3 on our Romulan list. Number what? That's 8 overall. But yes. So the Romulan scout ship, seen in a couple episodes of Next Generation, it's just a small ship, just under 100 meters in length. It's possible. It's a little too big to do as like a shuttlecraft, I think. So I think you could get away with doing this as a dedicated small ship. And so far we've seen small ships as attack vessels. Right, the Jem'Hadar fighter is definitely an attack vessel. The Defiant is an incredibly strong battleship, and presumably we'll see Burrell class birds of prey for the Klingons, which are also combat oriented. How cool would it be for the Romulans, who are a massive threat, to have their small ships be primarily transport and not a combat ship? They're a pick up and deliver ship, serving the same essential function as just a glorified runabout. This would be really awesome. And to add some faction diversity to the Romulans and how they would play in Star Trek Into the Unknown. So I think this is a super cool idea to see the Romulan scout ships show up. And I wonder if they'll have some kind of self-destruct mechanism too. One of the episodes I just watched, there was a defector. I think the episode was called The Defector, who comes on board the Enterprise, and his ship is outside. He beams over, requesting asylum, and once he's safe, he is like, oh yeah, by the way, boom, and he blows up his ship. And they're like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I can't let you guys have access to all my computer technology and all that stuff on board. And it didn't do a whole lot of damage, but if it was closer, it probably could have. So I could see that being a thing, like you put a booby trap on it. I could see the Romulans doing some Tal Shiar tactics like that. It could be pretty cool. So that's an idea. Moving forward, we're getting close. We're getting close to the end of the list. The Valdor. Now, this was seen in Star Trek Nemesis. These are nasty looking ships, and they're super cool. Definitely fit the timetable of where the game, where the game is and where it's going. I could see the Valdors definitely showing up. They're not that big, 600 meters long, about Galaxy class in size. Not offensively long, but they're wide, 900 meters wide. Again, while it doesn't necessarily have to exceed a large base, at least in length, it's going to be so wide that it may be awkward to get this thing balanced if you don't have side, if you only have like up and down, like straight down the middle, but posts, pegs, you may want to consider a base that has, pegs on the sides also to give it even more support, or triangular support, or however you want to do it. I could see that happening. And of course, I'm one of these people. I will tell you this, and this is, don't hate me for this, or you can hate me because I'm on YouTube. You can choose to hate me if you want. But I enjoyed Star Trek Nemesis. I really like, as a matter of fact, Star Trek Nemesis. It's obviously a flawed movie. It's an imperfect movie. It's got some things that just didn't work out too well, but it has an awesome space battle. And as a spaceship battle junkie, I love that. And so, and I love these ships. These ships were important in that movie, and they did some work. They got some work done, which is very cool. So I'd like to see them show up, as well as some of the crew and stuff from Commander Danatra and those folks. It's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, we're gonna go back a little bit. We talked a little bit about the D7. I feel like it's possible that we could talk about the Romulan birds of prey from the original series, or their more recent or slightly possibly still in service of variants, better known as the Talis class light warbird. These are iconic also. And again, if you are doing any original series stuff, you're doing throwback stuff, or even mirror universe stuff, right? Like, there's a lot of places where this is going to fit. Plus, you have the whole bird artwork on the bottom side of it. I think these totally would work in the game. It would definitely work. They're not too big. Also, so again, if all of the Romulan ships are really, really big and oppressive, you're going to need some smaller and medium ships, and this is another way to do that. And again, also, if you're going to do an original series pack, you're going to need some of these to help make that work. This and the D7, can bring the Romulans to life in the original series as a faction as well. But even into modern era, sometimes you'll still see these in service. So it's possible. So again, this was a little bit more of a stretch, but it definitely works on a couple of different levels, especially having some compatibility with original series stuff if they get around to that. So I don't think this one will be first, but I think this one's coming. I have a bonus one for you. I said there'd be bonuses, and we've some of things have pulled double duty, like saying the Katinga and the D7, and then the Romulan version of the D7 as well. So we're kind of over 10 already from a certain point of view. You'll find that many of the ships we talk about depend very greatly on your own point of view. And I know I'm crossing the universes. You're not supposed to cross the streams, but we do that on this channel because I like science fiction. And my outro at the end of each video is just like mending all the worlds, melding all the worlds together. Anyway, so my bonus for you is a ship that's not exactly Romulan, but still kind of works. It's actually Riemann, the Scimitar. Also from Star Trek Nemesis. Now, this one I feel like it could be different. This thing is so powerful. I don't really think that this is a ship that deserves to be placed in normal shipbuilding rules and normal fleets as a normal thing. I think this is something that maybe starts out as a convention, like organized play kind of thing, like, a scenario for bring down the Scimitar, and you have to bring your, you have like 4 players, unite, a four player AI, or a 4 versus 1, maybe somebody, from WizKids just running the scenario or something like that, and you have the Scimitar and you're playing it, and then they do this, generate some hype, and then a year later you have a large Scimitar model. This thing is very, very big. It's over 1,300 meters wide. It's just insanely wide. It's massive, but not so massive that it couldn't fit on the tabletop. And so but it would require some kind of specialty base, though, right? So it would definitely need its own base. And I think it'd be really cool. And a lot of people are out there talking about, how are the Borg going to work in this game? How are we going to get a Borg cube? Would a Borg cube be too big? I don't think we need to jump straight into the Borg when we've got ships like this that fit the bill already of big bad ship that people can try to take down. I think this is fun. The game obviously lends itself to lots of different Star Trek movies and episodes. So everything from diplomatic challenges to navigational hazards to exploration. I haven't played a mission yet that does first contact, but you could totally, have all of those things working in the game too. But it also has great combat capability. And wouldn't it be fun to have a shared combat capability? Because again, if you're teaming up, if I'm teaming up, if I'm the Federation and I'm teaming up with the Romulans to bring down this giant Reman ship, there could also be hails. There could also be diplomacy. And maybe I don't trust that you're really on my side. Maybe I'm afraid you're going to, if we succeed, then you're going to turn around and take out my weakened ships as well. It works on so many different levels that don't have to play out exactly the same way that the movie did. But, working together to take down a powerful foe is very cool. And you can have multiple versions of it. You can have like a 2-player and a 4-player version and so on and so forth, and have it scale up depending on how many people are teaming up to bring it down. There's so many cool things you could do here. I think it's an awesome idea. And, again, these aren't the only ships that exist for these factions, but there are some that I think are very likely to show up, with the Scimitar being a little bit less than likely to show up anytime soon. But I think the fact that it was kind of like the big bad guy of the last the last Star Trek Next Generation era movie, that I think there's always going to be, I think there's a place for it. It may be a little farther out, but I would love to see good, fun, big battle scenarios that also could be really fun to do at a convention. Could be really fun to do at organized play, and have. And then if you want to go ahead and pick one up and be able to do it on your kitchen table, you can also do that. Although it would work better for multiplayer, and it'd work better for like, hey, everybody come on out this weekend. We're going to do a big battle, and having that camaraderie and that get together mentality. I think that'd be a really beautiful thing. So let me know what you think about my list in the comments section below. Do you agree with any of my picks? Do you think I missed something critical that should have been included? And what do you want to see out of the channel next? What do you want to see me talk about? What race do you want to see? Is there any predictions that you want to hear? We're going to still continue to be covering Star Trek Into the Unknown, as well as a lot of other spaceship and science fiction based games, and anything that just is really fun and cool to play on the tabletop. That's going to do it for today. I want to thank you all so much, and have a very safe and happy new year. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. And always wash your socks.